English 112. Miss Brewer here for your literature review lecture. So I'm going to spend some time going in detail through the resources that are provided for you on literature review writing. I'm going to talk about the purpose of writing a literature review and essentially how you're going to organize your literature review. It is super important that you take notes and that you go through all of this with me actively. Make sure that you feel comfortable with the writing style. And as always, if you have questions, be sure that you get in touch with me so that we can clarify that as you're writing your literature review. So first, I just want to talk about what is a literature review. So a literature review is a APA formatted style of writing, and what you're looking at with this is you are doing exactly what it says. You are reviewing literature, okay? So if you'll open up the literature review course lecture, you can follow along with me as I go through some of this information. First of all, you guys have already completed an annotated bibliography. Now what you're going to do is you're going to pull research from the sources that you've already located and that you should have already read, and you're going to identify essentially certain themes that you find throughout these different articles, okay? And you want to talk about your topic, and you want to organize your topic in anywhere from 3 to 5 different recurring themes from the articles, and you're going to essentially present what the literature, what the articles say about those topics. So you've already done the annotated bibliography, and the annotated bibliography just compiles your research and organizes it. All right. And now what you're going to be doing is identifying themes throughout or topics throughout those articles. So you're doing it to find out what has already been researched on your topic, what has already been said about your topic, okay? Oftentimes people write a literature review to see what's already out there, and then they go on and do research for things that haven't been covered yet in a particular area. We are not doing that, okay? All we're doing is looking at the articles, finding some similarities, what are some major things we want to talk about and present from those articles, and then coming to a conclusion about that. So you are basically going to be reading the articles and presenting the findings from the articles in your literature review. Come back into the course and click on the PowerPoint for literature review, and we're going to go through this. So this tells you how you're going to write a literature review, okay? So what is the purpose of a literature review? You'll probably see a question like this on your final exam. So the purpose of a literature review is to see what's already been researched on a topic, okay? So the literature review presents information or findings that others have already found or researched on a topic, okay? Oftentimes it's before you start research, maybe before you were going to write a dissertation for a doctoral program or something to that effect, all right? And again, we're just getting kind of the feel of being able to read and digest and summarize what we've read, okay, without necessarily having a thesis or anything like that to drive us to prove that point. So your format of a literature review, you guys are going to have 5 main sections, okay, 5 main sections, and the heading for the sections will be centered when you write your literature review and in bold. Okay, so you will have an abstract, and that goes on page number 2 because it's APA format after a title page, and it's by itself. So your abstract is on page 2 by itself. And this is a general overview of your paper. You'll actually write your abstract last, so remember that. Then you'll have your introduction. That'll be at the top of the 3rd page. And the introduction is essentially like introducing the topic, maybe stating some of the significance of it, or, you know, that people have been researching it for quite a while, okay? The introduction is like 150 to 200 words, okay? Your abstract is about the same. The difference between the introduction and the abstract is that the abstract talks about the entire paper, okay? The introduction is just introducing the topic, okay? Then your discussion. This is your longest section of your literature review. So after you have your introduction, you will again go center of the page, discussion in bold. All right. Then you will hit enter and flush left. You will have in bold titles of topics that you're going to go over in your discussion. Okay. I suggest 3 to 5 of these topics. And what you're going to do is you're going to locate similar things that people have said, or you're going to divide up your topic, your social issue, okay, into these topics and what articles say about that. So let's say I'm talking about prejudice or implicit bias or racism in the criminal justice system, okay? What I will do is after I've read the articles, then I'm going to organize them based on what they're talking about, okay? So maybe I have 2 articles that talk about juvenile detention centers, okay? And then maybe I have 2 articles that talk about school to prison pipeline. And then maybe I have 2 articles that talk about the circulation of going into prison over and over and over again, right? And what I want to do is I want to then kind of summarize and present succinctly what the articles are saying about those topics. So I would have those 3 topics, all right? And topic 1, I would say, you know, Brown and Evans did a research study on the impacts of juvenile detention experiences on young men of color. And then I would present what they said in that article. The hope is that you have at least 2 articles that are talking about certain topics. You may find that you have an article that talks about all 3. So you would then incorporate that article in all 3 sections, okay, underneath the discussion. So your discussion is just discussing all of the things that you've read and what do these articles say about these particular topics. Then you will write a conclusion. Your conclusion, again, after you finish your discussion, you will have centered and bolded conclusion, and you'll write about a paragraph or so, okay, essentially talking about the significance of the research, things that may need to be done, okay, almost like a thesis-ish type of thing at the end, all right? And then finally, you have references. And your references is like a works cited, but in APA format, it's called references. And it would be an APA format, and it would be alphabetical order, you know, just like MLA format, okay? So that's the format of your literature review. And I just went through all of the details about what everything is. There are some tips in this PowerPoint. For instance, make sure you write your abstract at the end, okay? So leave that blank page, and after you've written the paper, then you can talk about everything the paper talks about, right? You can't tell what the paper is going to be about if you haven't written the paper yet. And for discussion, so direct quotations are generally frowned upon in a literature review. You guys can use 1 or 2 here or there, but really what you're doing is summarizing what people said overall throughout an article. If there are specific statistics and things like that, you will need to cite in text. The way that we cite in a literature review or an APA format is a little bit different, okay? So if I utilize the author's names, all right, in my sentence, Brown and Evans presented a research study or something like that, right? Then I say Brown and Evans, and then in parentheses, I put the year, because the year is super important in APA format. Brown and Evans, parentheses, 2018, completed a study on whatever, yeah? And in it they found, you know, and maybe I have certain percentages that came from a specific page. At the end of the sentence, the only thing I need to put in parentheses now is the page number. And in APA format, you actually write P period and the number, okay? And that's what's called essentially a split citation, all right? So if you incorporate the author's names into your sentences, you can do a split citation. If you don't incorporate it and you're just doing a direct quote, then you would do the entire citation after the quote. And in APA format, your entire citation is the author's last names, or if there's no author and it's the title of a website, the website title, comma, the year, comma, P period, and the page number. So your in-text citations are longer, there's more information, and there is punctuation inside of those citations, all right? So be aware of that. In MLA format, there was no punctuation, there was nothing in there except for author's last name, page number, or title, page number. Now you have name, comma, year, comma, P period for all of the information, okay? So make sure you get that information done correctly. So the last slide just asks you, okay, well, why not write an annotated bibliography, right? It just talks about what the literature is about. And what's really important to remember is when you're doing a literature review, this is you presenting everything that you've read. So your voice is still there, and you're looking for the ideas and connections throughout all of the articles, okay? So that's super important to remember. Okay. Your assignment details. So you guys are going to be writing a literature review. You've already researched your social issue, and what you're going to be doing now is you're going to be organizing all of the research that you've done from those articles into 3 to 5 main topics, all right? And what does the literature say about those topics? It should be 1,250 to 1,500 words, not including your references page. 5 to 7 sources, so you were required 7 sources for your annotated bibliography. And so when you organize it into these different topics, if you find that 1 or 2 articles don't work anymore, you can excise them and you don't have to review those. All right, so a minimum of 5, but you can use all 7. You should not have to go out and do additional research at this point in time. Find some common themes. Make sure that you guys have already done your social, you've selected your social issue, you've researched your social issue, and now it's time to start finding those similarities. I suggest for pre-writing to do a mini outline, if you will. It doesn't have to be MLA, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't even have to be turned in. But think about what topics you're going to cover and kind of Roman numeral those out, and then what did each article say about that topic? So you have it kind of organized already before you start writing, okay? It's imperative that you guys do revisions. It's imperative that you guys get feedback, all right? That's super, super important. What else is in here for literature review? All right, so some questions and answers. All right, this just talks about what is the abstract, how to do your discussion, which we've already gone over, okay? There's an infographic that you guys can look at that was created when I worked at the Writing Center at ECU. And it just kind of gives you some helpful hints. It talks about synthesis. How do you synthesize information and put it all together, all right? So this is a pretty cool little infographic that goes over the steps of the literature review and what to do. And then I included a sample literature review, okay? So your sample literature review is from Purdue OWL. I will also include a student example of a literature review for you to look at, okay? And just make sure that you pay attention to the way that these are written, all right? The style of writing is a little different, all right, because you're presenting what literature says instead of making an argument and using the literature to back yourself up. And it's really important to make that paradigm shift when you write this. So remember that you have a very specific format that you are following, a very specific writing style that you are following for the literature review. And if you guys have any questions, you can always contact me and I will help you as best I can to understand it. Definitely look into videos or look up sample literature reviews so you get as much of an understanding of it as you need. And I will check in with you guys later.